In the darkest corners of the mind, there exists a relentless battle. It's a silent struggle that often goes unnoticed. I get it. I've been there. Waking up each day with a heavy heart. The best part of your day, which was sleeping, is now over, and the weight of the world is just bearing down on your shoulders as you drag yourself to a job that feels soul-crushing. Every day is the same. You feel like Bill Murray in the movie Groundhog's Day. You're waiting for something to change, and it never does. The connections you once cherished with friends, family, they've grown completely distant and empty. No matter how hard you try, nothing brings you joy. You just feel nothing. Your once vibrant dreams are now absorbed by a thick fog of apathy, leaving you feeling hollow and empty. Depression takes over your life, sapping joy from every moment and clouding the path forward. No matter how hard you try, you can't find anything you like, nothing that makes you feel excited. You try to get a hobby, you try getting out to the world, but you feel numb. All you want to do is sit on your couch, scroll social media. All of the vibrant colors of life have faded to grayscale. The simple act of getting out of bed, taking care of yourself, becomes an insurmountable task. Procrastination is at an all-time high, and motivation is non-existent. Maybe the walls of your life even feel like they're crashing down around you. Nothing goes right. Nothing is fulfilling anymore, and the idea of a promised future seems like a mirage in the desert. When you're in this deep, dark hole, it feels like there's no way out. But there is a way out. There is a way for you to experience renewed purpose and fulfillment, and there is a way for you to feel something again, for you to feel connected and like you have a reason to get up in the morning. There is a way for you to actually see a future for yourself that isn't dim and bleak. If you're watching this video, it's because you haven't given up. You know that you are the one to get yourself out of this, and you know you have what it takes. So I'm going to throw you a rope that you have been looking for so you can climb out of this deep, dark hole. In this video, I'm going to tell you about some of the factors that might be contributing to your depression, your apathy, your emptiness, and I'm going to tell you exactly what to do to get out of it. It is very much a part of my purpose in life to help as many people as I can to reach their fullest potential so that everybody can live a very fulfilling life. And we're living in a time where I'm seeing this amongst my peers, my colleagues, my clients at a quite alarming rate. I believe that something needs to shift because there are a lot of people that are suffering silently, that are just putting fake smiles on their faces. And you have people that are looking to destructive coping mechanisms, drugs, alcohol, even their addictive iPhones to find relief, only to be met with more pain. All of the information that I give you, I've not only used on myself, but I've used with my one-on-one clients over the past 6 years. So if you like this process and you need my help doing it, I'll link down below in the description ways in which I can assist you. I'll also link some added resources that you'll find very beneficial. So first, I want to state that this is not medical advice. If you are on medication, I'm absolutely not telling you to stop taking it. That's something that you need to discuss with your doctor. But on that note, up until recently, depression and chronic apathy was chalked up to be a chemical imbalance or a lack of serotonin. Now, alternative therapies and philosophies always knew this wasn't the case and that it was actually a myriad of factors that played a big part in the symptomology. These theories, of course, were disregarded until recently. Now, pharmaceutical companies and researchers are finally admitting that it cannot be just a chemical imbalance. I'm not going to go into details on that, but I'll link below articles for anybody who's interested in that. So if it's not a chemical imbalance, what is it? What I want you to know is that your emotions and lack thereof are signs that your body is either telling you something is very right or very wrong. It's a way for your body to say you are going in the right or wrong direction. Now, as you build emotional intelligence, you can decipher your body's messages. The first message that is being sent to you by these feelings is that your nervous system is stuck in a freeze state and you have trauma in your body. Basically, your body is telling you that you are in a state of perceived danger that you cannot escape. Depression and apathy are symptoms of nervous system trapped in a persistent freeze. The fight or flight response is a primal instinct, and it's designed to protect you from immediate danger. However, when you're faced with a threat that you can either fight or run from, your nervous system will resort to freeze response. It's an adaptive mechanism that shuts down certain functions to shield you from further harm. If you can't escape the threat, you'll just be numb to it. It's like when you see animals getting attacked in the wild and they'll either faint or lose consciousness. This is their body's way of saying, well, it's your time, so I'm going to make sure you're not consciously here to experience this because it's not going to be pleasant. But for humans, you're not fainting, you're freezing, and you're going numb. Also, when an animal survives that danger, it gets up and it shakes uncontrollably, and then it goes on its way. That's what we're meant to do, to release the adrenaline and the fear. But since we have a reasoning mind, we intercept that process and we store that fear in our bodies. In the grip of depression, your nervous system remains stuck in this freeze mode, unable to shake off the lingering shadows of past traumas and current threats. The very mechanism that once served as a protective shield now becomes the barrier to experiencing the full spectrum of life. When your body is in a freeze state, it's holding trapped emotions from life within it. Emotions are energy in motion, and when you suppress low-frequency emotions like guilt, shame, fear, anger, sadness, despair, they become stagnant. Therefore, you become stagnant. It takes 80% of your life force energy to push down trapped emotions, leaving you with 20% to function off of. That's literally nothing. Of course you're tired all the time for no reason. All of your energy is being used to push down emotions that you don't want to feel. And of course, you're not doing this consciously. It is a subconscious defense mechanism. If you've been alive for the past 3 years, you have experienced trauma, whether you realize it or not. After everything that has happened, the world being shut down out of nowhere, people fearing death, losing their jobs and businesses, family members dying, people almost losing their jobs, their pensions, their stability, their homes being taken, people losing friends, not being comfortable having regular conversations anymore out of fear of getting into a screaming match. Everybody is walking on eggshells, and there are perceived threats everywhere. There's divisiveness everywhere. To your mind and your nervous system, this is traumatic. It was too much and too fast. And our subconscious is wired to keep us safe and make sure our needs are met and that we're secure. This also includes being a part of a community. The subconscious is a primitive brain, and it still functions like we're living in tribes. Being ostracized equals death to your mind. Now, on top of that, you add in the regular stress from life. Stress is your body's response to a perceived danger, and stress is a seemingly normal part of life, but is really not supposed to be, especially not at the level in which our society is experiencing it now. Now, as I mentioned before, your body can be stuck in a freeze state because of past trauma. It's actually past trauma that creates the stress in your life today. It's also your past trauma that will determine the effect the past 3 years has had on you. A person who experienced trauma in their youth has a limbic system that isn't functioning properly. It's now wired to see danger where there is none. And I want to explain this. Trauma is the new buzzword. I'm sure you're over it. I'm over it, and I'm in the healing professions. So for both of our sakes, I'm going to refer to as adverse childhood experiences. You may be thinking my childhood was fine. I didn't have adverse experiences. You did. Everybody did, because it's the way your minds develop. From the womb up until the age of 7, you're in a perpetual state of hypnosis. You're operating solely with your subconscious mind, absorbing everything you see, hear, touch, and experience, and is being programmed into your subconscious as your facts and your foundations for life. When you're a child, you don't have your conscious analytical mind yet. You operate from an egocentric mindset, meaning everything that is happening to you is because of you. From 3 to 4, you seek acknowledgement from your dad, and up until 18 months, you require nurturing from your mom. And if it's not received, you feel hurt, and your ego looks for a reason why it happened, because it's ego's job to fix it and make sure it never happens again. The problem is, the reason the ego comes up with is that it's your fault, because it's egocentric, so it can only be your fault. And to your ego, it's better to have a reason that's hurtful to you than to not have a reason at all. And let's be real, We never receive all the nurturing or validation that we need from our parents, and we never will. Not to say our parents were bad, but generally, not being validated is just a part of life. We weren't given a user's manual, and everyone's just out there doing the best they can, and they're parenting you the way they were parented. Also, there are just regular, unavoidable life circumstances that can cause you to feel unvalidated and like your needs aren't being met, like your parents working. Maybe in a perfect world you have parents that are with you 24/7 as a baby, but we live in a world where you need to work to make money to survive. So it's very likely you weren't with your parents all day, every day. This leads to unmet validation and nurturing. Your needs not being met is an adverse experience. Psychologists are now saying that, according to attachment theory, that if you were dropped off at daycare as a toddler, that is the equivalent to your mother dying. So every day you feel that your mother is dying, which creates attachment disorders that usually show up around middle school. I am not shaming you if you bring your child to daycare. Most of us went there. We all did. It needs to happen. But if you look at society now as a whole, all these kids going to daycare, barely any of us have secure attachment style. That is an adverse experience to a baby. Now, it doesn't have to be a seemingly big experience for it to have a big effect on you. When it comes to negative experiences, it's not about the severity of the act, but it's about how you received it. And everybody experiences things differently. And it doesn't stop at 18 months. You're expecting your needs to be met, and you're taking in this programming until you're around 12 to 14 years old. So anything that happens to you up until that time becomes the basis for your programming, as well as the formation of your identity. Just think about your formative years and how brutal kids are. Nobody was safe. So that environment forms your limbic system, and it's your limbic system that tells your nervous system how to be. Your nervous system also gets set at that age. So whatever your environment was like as a kid is what your nervous system wants your environment like as an adult. So whatever justification your ego comes up with about why things happened, they become a belief you hold about yourself, as well as the world. And all these events and beliefs create emotions, and it's these emotions that we push down and we stamp onto our nervous systems. When we do this, it creates tension in our bodies, tension that comes in the forms of thoughts and feelings. Because it's our subconscious's job to take us from pain, it tries to relieve the tension by creating our habits and behavior. Procrastination is a behavior that stems from uncomfortable feelings around doing certain things. Procrastination isn't laziness, it's your nervous system in freeze. Another behavior that's created by this tension is a closed down heart. It's an energetic heart wall that is protecting us, because if we can't escape these feelings, you must be numb to them. And if you have only experienced hurt, then why should you let anyone in? A closed down heart leads to apathy, emptiness, disconnection. So once your programming is in place, your mind filters everything from your senses through this programming. It then stamps a meaning onto what you see. That meaning always matches your beliefs. This is why I said that stress that you experience today is linked to your childhood. Everything you perceive now is given a meaning that matches the meanings you formed when you were a kid. All the stressors from life are just old experiences being poked at. Depression, apathy, emptiness, this is the only resource your subconscious has available to protect you. It's a learned helplessness, where if you can't find a way out, there's no point in trying, so you just have to shut down. So what do you do about it? You have to work on getting yourself out of the freeze state. When doing this, I believe in taking a bottom-up and a top-down approach, meaning body up and mind down. Somatic therapy is a bottom-up approach as it works your body, and it's an amazing way to release emotions and trauma from your body while regulating your nervous system. The best part is that you could do it from home. I'm going to put a link in the description for a somatic healing course I have zero affiliation with. I make no money from it. I am recommending it purely because I think it's amazing. I've used it for myself many times. I like to do it once a year. My friends use it. I recommend it to my clients. It's really, really affordable, like $100 for a 3-part bundle, and I think like $50 for one, and you could do it from home. The second way to regulate your nervous system is cold exposure. Absolutely love this. It pairs perfectly with somatic healing. So with cold exposure, there's two ways you can do it. If you have the space at your home, if you have a backyard, you can buy an actual cold plunge tub, and you can even buy a tub like a steel gardening tub similar to a trough. I don't know the name for it, that's how I would describe it. I have one of those, so you fill it with water and a lot of ice, like multiple large bags of ice, and you sit in it for 3 to 5 minutes. It's obviously not very accessible for everybody, so the second way that you can do this, which is easier and more affordable, is to get a semi-large mixing bowl, one that you can fit your face in, and at night fill it with a quarter of water and you put it in the freezer. In the morning, break up the ice and fill the bowl with cold water. Let the ice melt a little bit into the water, and then you're going to hold your breath and dunk your face. The idea is to hold for at least 10 seconds and to work up to doing 3 sets of this. Be careful when you do this, it's initially shocking. It's like waterboarding yourself, and your body's going to want to breathe in, so be mindful of that. This to me is a non-negotiable. I do it every morning, and I would do it full body every day if I could, but I don't have a place for a plunge because I live in an apartment. The reason this is great is because it's twofold. Your vagus nerve, which is a central nerve in your nervous system, starts at the top of your head and runs down your face. When you expose it to cold, it actually regulates your nervous system. It will shock you out of a freeze state, and it is shocking. Secondly, when you do this, it causes a dopamine dump. That's your happy chemical, which you are currently experiencing not much of. This is a fantastic way to start your day. It helps me to focus first thing in the morning. I'm a massive procrastinator, so dunking my face literally shocks me and gives me a burst of energy. When you mix that with somatic exercises, it will really help you to get out of the apathetic state. It helped me. And the more you do it, the more your stress tolerance increases, which lessens your chances of experiencing depression in the future. Be careful when doing it. Again, dunking your face. If it's too much, you can start with dunking your hands and you can work your way up. On a side note, it's also really good for your skin. It's very anti-aging. That's also another reason why I love it. Okay, so next you need to start exercising. I know this sounds counterintuitive. You just need to start moving. I know that it's like, I'm depressed, so I don't want to move, but I need to move to get out of being depression. You don't need to run a marathon. You just have to start exercising, even if it's just walking. I actually recommend starting with just going for walks every single day. You could start small, work your way up. When you're exercising, you are signaling to the brain that you are safe, especially if you're walking or weight training or doing yoga. It's not intense, so you're not breathing heavy. You're just moving your body, you're releasing trapped anger and emotion, and you're signaling to your brain that it's okay to go into rest, digest, and heal. And if you walk outside and it's sunny, you also get vitamin D, which is extremely important. We are all deficient in vitamin D, and D plays a very big role in our mood. Not to mention, when you exercise, endorphins get released, and you get into really good shape. That alone will contribute to pulling you out of the dark hole. The fourth way to regulate your nervous system is through a change in perception. This can be achieved through therapy, as well as a series of mental exercises. Now, you might want to write these down and pause this. You're going to repeat them to yourself a few times a day for as many days as you need. Eventually, they will become a natural thought process. Remember, your limbic system, which is your perception, determines your nervous system state. You want to rewire your limbic system so you no longer see danger. These will help you. So first, it's nothing I see in this room, on this street, or around me means anything. Say that a few times a day when you're perceiving things, as many days as you need. The second is I have given everything that I see all the meaning it has for me. And the third is I'm upset because I see something that is not there. I only see the past. Obviously, that's used when you're distressed. The idea is that really everything is a human construct. And everything we see has a meaning that we've attached to it. A chair is a chair because we say it's a chair. To a tribe in the rainforest, it's something else. I'm upset because I see something that is not there alludes to the fact that our mental filtration system causes us to only see what is programmed from our past. We only see what our minds think we need to see, and that is our programming. Reality is a mirror, and we are always projecting what is buried within our unconscious minds onto the world and the people in it for the sake of healing the illusions and the distortions and becoming whole. The fifth way to regulate your nervous system is the top-down approach. That is opening your heart and healing your trauma. This is how you literally change your programming and your perception. And when I say open your heart, I really mean open your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is your emotional brain, and that's where your memories reside. It's your subconscious that controls everything. So I definitely recommend finding someone to help you with this. As for modalities, anything that deals with the subconscious, like hypnotherapy, breathwork, even cognitive behavioral therapy would be great too. Breathwork is a go-to because you're hyper-oxygenating your body, which actually breaks up the trapped emotion in your system, releasing it. You can literally breathe your heart walls open and release years and years worth of gunk that's repressed in your body. And you can find breathwork workshops at yoga studios, Eventbrite, meetup groups. You can also search for breathwork practitioners. It's not the breathwork that you find on YouTube, which is just pranayama breathing exercises. The breathwork I'm talking about is more intense, like holotropic or transformational breathwork. I do it with my clients whenever they're experiencing depression, apathy, repressed emotions, or when they're like, I don't want to talk about my past. I just want to breathe and I want to release it. When you heal your subconscious, you are rewiring your perception. You are changing your beliefs about yourself and the world. Everything gets a lot lighter and more free when you're released from your own mental and emotional restraints. You don't get triggered as much, if ever. Your relationships become healthier. The world gets a lot brighter. So now that brings me to the next potential cause of your current mental state. And this is your harsh inner critic. We all have an inner critic. It's that voice that tells us what we should or shouldn't do, what we are capable of achieving. It tells us all the reasons why we don't have what we want and why we'll never have it. It tells us all the ways we aren't good enough, how we'll have what we want once we're perfect, even though that day never comes because it's not possible. It's the part of our mind that either holds us to a really high, impossible standard or none at all because it doesn't think we're worth it. Everyone's critic varies by degrees. Some are way harsher than others. There are even some lucky people who have like a semi-pleasant critic. Not me. What I want you to think about when it comes to your critic is imagine having a parent or a significant other or a friend who just follows you around all day, calling you worthless, telling you you're a piece of crap, you'll never amount to anything, how everything is your fault and it will always be this way. That would be considered abuse. That's an abusive relationship. That's verbal and emotional abuse. And it's still abusive when it's coming from you. And to me, this is worse abuse because it's abuse that you can't escape. Your inner critic is beating you down day after day like a small child getting destroyed. And it's just another threat you can't escape, which will beat you down until you shut down and freeze up. Your mind is the threat and your body has no choice but to shut down and feel nothing, which results in your inner critic beating you up even more. It is a vicious cycle. So what do? Well, you start doing some form of subconscious therapy, and that will take care of your critic. I definitely recommend outside help if that's possible for you. If not, or if you want to really tackle it head on, there are multiple options that you can try. So first, give your inner critic a name. Sounds stupidly simple, I know, but hear me out. Your critic is also known as your inner parent, and that's because it mirrors one of your parents. Your critic forms as a kid, and it forms as a way to keep you in line and keep you safe. So it looks to your parents and caretakers to decide what's acceptable and what's not, because it believes if you do right by your parents, they'll take care of you and you will survive. Tribal brain. So your inner critic is actually the voice of either one of your parents, if you had a more authoritative one, or it's a blend of both. Now, it's not trying to hurt your feelings. It's actually trying to help you thrive, but it does it in a way that is not helpful. So give it a name, and when it starts rambling in your mind, address it and say, stop it. The more you address it as something separate from yourself, the looser the grip it will have over you. You are not your thoughts. Who you actually are, your consciousness, is the observer of your thoughts. You are the witness. The better you get at separating yourself from your thoughts, the freer you will be. Your thoughts are just the programming that was projected onto you by the people around you. So this brings me to the next option, which is to meditate. Doesn't matter what style of meditation, just meditate. The purpose of meditation is to actually separate yourself from the thoughts. So over time, you can decipher what is actually you in your consciousness and what is a programmed thought pattern. When you deconstruct your inner critic, you evolve your consciousness, and that's why we're here. So now for the next reason why you might be having this experience, and that is you are having a dark night of the soul. A dark night of the soul is basically an existential crisis. It's a stage in your life when you are undergoing a deeper perception of yourself and your place in this life. It's basically your soul telling you that you lack authenticity, purpose, meaning. It's screaming at you, telling you you aren't aligned with your real desires and true self. That you are repressing who you really are and just moving along a path that's not right for you. Like I said before, emotions or lack thereof are signs that something is either right or wrong for you. Friedrich Nietzsche said, "He who has a why to live for can bear almost any how." And Viktor Frankl, the psychologist and Holocaust survivor, who wrote in his book Man's Search for Meaning, that during his time in the concentration camp, it was the ones who had family members to go back to and a life to fight for that survived. The ones who found out that their families were gone had nothing left to fight for and were soon gone themselves. Meaning is so important. It makes the normal obstacles of life tolerable because you have something to fight for. Researchers have even found a correlation in early death among early retirees, and I am not someone who promotes working until the day that you die. It's just that people need an identity, and they need a sense of purpose to thrive. So even if it's not a career and it's just hobbies and passions, we need purpose, we need our passions, and we need connection. When we're isolated and we're not growing, we're essentially dying. Now, I mentioned that you lacked authenticity. We all do. Unless you're someone who actively works to develop yourself, then you're getting there. But otherwise, we are all just walking versions of the projections of everyone from our youth. Our identity is literally formed by 7 years old, and it's filled with the projections and beliefs of our parents, our caretakers, peers, and the education system. And at some point or another, your true desires and passions were most likely stifled because they either weren't acceptable, they were deemed irresponsible or unrealistic, or you developed a belief that you weren't capable or good enough for what you loved. So you push it down and you act like a version of you who is accepted. You can only get away with that for so long. You can only deny yourself what's rightfully yours for so long. I'm going to eventually do a video on purpose, so keep out for that. So otherwise, what I will say about purpose, it's not just a job. It could also be a hobby, a role, or even the essence of who you are and how you show up in the world. Your purpose changes throughout your life, and you can have multiple purposes. Before I became a hypnotherapist, I was in my early 20s. I had just moved to California from Hawaii. Hawaii was an amazing experience, as you could imagine. So I'm moving to a new place, basically coming down from a 2-year adventure high. I still had no idea what I wanted to do as a career. I was working in the restaurant industry, I was so over, I couldn't bear it anymore. It was seriously soul-crushing, especially because there was literally no light at the end of the tunnel. There was no end goal. So I took a leap of faith and I got a job as a medical assistant for a functional medicine doctor. It was moving me in the right direction because I loved alternative health, but it still wasn't what I was supposed to be doing. I didn't want to work for anybody. I was completely numb, almost to the point of being constantly nauseous. It was very bizarre. I was tired, lethargic. I could barely keep my eyes open, and I had nothing in me. I literally felt like I had a dark cloud over me that I couldn't escape from. I would come home from work, sit on my couch, scroll my phone, not even eat, and then fall asleep. I was a walking zombie. I was also in a very bad relationship where we were just projecting onto each other and making each other feel 10 times worse. He was very depressed too. You could feel the darkness the second you came into our apartment. Not long into that job, I realized hypnotherapy was what I was supposed to be doing. Suddenly, I had something to look forward to. I actually had something that made me feel excited. I hadn't felt that in a long time. Once I entered school, I learned everything about mind, body, spirit, literally everything. And not long after starting school, I ended that relationship and my mood started to change. The cloud was lifted. I got my motivation back. I spent 5 years deconstructing my own identity, moving towards my authenticity. I'm still a work in progress, but who I am now is very different than who I was. I've really ignored my passions, and that caused depression. My life is way more authentic now, and I am more in alignment with who I'm supposed to be than ever. And that's why I love my job, because I help people do what I did for myself, just way faster. As I regulated my nervous system, healed my trauma, opened up my heart, everything changed. Now, if I ever experience these feelings again, I'll do somatic work, nervous system regulation, I check my inner critic, and I do a complete audit of my life to make sure I'm still in alignment, and then I make the necessary changes. I've created a free workbook that will help you uncover parts of your purpose, your values that you're meant to live by, and the meaning that you're supposed to create. I'm going to link that in the description and the comments. You just go to my website and a pop-up will ask you if you want to download it. This will be a very good resource to help you start. I'm also going to make another video going more into detail about uncovering your purpose, like I mentioned before. So look out for that. I will post a link for a free handout about uncovering your ikigai, and this is a Japanese concept meaning your reason for living, and that's exactly it. So that's another really good resource. I also recommend doing shadow work. This will help you uncover the parts of yourself that you've repressed and you feel shame towards. It will help you uncover the repressed gifts that you actually have. So basically, shadow work is digging into your unconscious and finding the limiting beliefs, the negative emotions, the self-sabotage, and the repressed characteristics that are dragging you down and that are being projected into your reality, creating turmoil. I intend to make a video on that too, but in the meantime, there are plenty of videos and books on shadow work currently out there. Hypnotherapy is shadow work, so if you find a practitioner, you're killing a lot of birds with one stone. If there's anything that you need help on and you want me to make a video about, please drop it in the comments. If there's something that I can do to help, I will. Otherwise, I wish you well, and I know that you will have a renewed sense of life coming your way.